Hey guys, welcome back to Margot Watches Movies. My name is Jake Margot. Tonight, with a fresh shave, I'm going to be reviewing the season 1 finale of Chad Powers. Now, last week's episode ended on a shocking twist, and I have to say, I think tonight was easily, far and away, the best episode of the season. And not just factoring in the quality of what the show has been so far, but I think as a television episode in general, this was an excellent episode. One of the best I've watched all year of a television show, top 15 or 20 range. And as far as finales go, maybe the ending leaves a little bit left to be desired. It was a very short season at 6 episodes. So one season to tell us basically, if they're talking about a national championship factoring in the college football playoffs, about 40% of actual football season is an interesting choice. But I really hope that they get a season 2 after the quality that was shown in this episode. And all around, from the performances to the direction to some music choices to some sprinkled in moments of real humor and comedy, I thought that this episode fired on absolutely every cylinder. And for me, it was the dropping of some of the more silly and cartoony bits of humor they go for. And the show got real tonight. It got real. It handled what was a actual dark situation. I mean, the twist, was it deserving of what had become before the show? I mentioned this a lot in my review last week. I wasn't even ready to give it a score. I wanted to see what came from it. And the fact that they locked in, they threw away the silliness, and they give us a full episode of real character growth, character realizations, interactions, moments of hubris, moments of pathos, emotion, shading in these sides of Russ we've yet to see, giving Ricky, played by Perry Matfield, a absolute spectacle tonight, who she really was just fantastic throughout this whole episode. This was a great episode. So let's get in beyond the bits I've mentioned. Let's get into a little bit of a recap here. Mostly going to stick to the review side, but with Russ, where this episode picks off with Russ in the fallout of Coach having his heart attack, having to, after Ricky's unable to get an ambulance on the line, or her despicably awful mother to answer the phone, who's probably hiding as a narcissist would after that, Russ is forced to run through the woods as Chad Powers and get his Tesla Cybertruck, the very Cybertruck that the, again, horrible mother threw at the coach's face when she said, "I effed Chad Power or Russ Holiday in his Cybertruck last night." The light bulb flicks in Ricky's head. And I was wondering how long that they were going to try to drag this out. Were they going to make her dumb about it? Was she going to take her sweet time? And after dropping them off at the hospital, regrouping for practice, she walks right up to Chad Powers, rips his arm sleeve off, and sees the tattoo that was foreshadowed a few episodes back when she was Googling Russ Holiday after their interaction at the hotel. She immediately calls him, "You're Russ Holiday." And this was interesting to me. Oh, she showed what an intelligent person would do. She put the pieces together quickly. She called him out, and Russ resorts back to his nature. He retreats, he runs away, he goes into hiding, and you actually got a pretty good moment between him and the mascot where, the guy's like, "I don't hate you, you're my friend," and it's a very sweet moment between two characters with a couple ill jokes, like, I think it would have been better off if he died, that type of thing. I didn't find that to be necessary, but they're going for the dark humor at this point. They've committed to the bit, so I'll give them that. And from there, Russ decides to hide away and take the makeup kit back to his father, who's working on a Michael Bay movie about Santa Ana in Atlanta, which I thought was a really kind of subtle but funny joke. And when he gets there and his dad is in this fat costume, testing it out as Santa Ana, and Mascot's like, Santa Anna wasn't fat. He goes, I know, it's just how Michael Bay rolls, kind of deal. I thought that was humorous. But this is when the episode really sheds all pretensions and it gets real. And you have this wonderful moment in the trailer of Chad actually just owning up to it, no longer trying to goofy hijinks, hide who he is. He owns up to his father, and you see his father actually feel some bit of pride, some bit of relief seeing his son as he's shown highlights, seeing him happy, as he says, for the first time since his mother died. And that really adds another layer to Chad. It's probably what has been this self-sabotage that has driven him for the past decade, that has led for him making these terrible decisions, as he so inelegantly puts it, leads to him being fisted by the Lord, basically, which I'm Christian. I'm not really the biggest fan of that joke, but I don't think it's spiteful or anything. It's just that wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, but I'm sure a lot of people found that funny. Yeah, so there's this real, the tenderness, seeing Russ get emotional, seeing his vulnerability. And the vulnerability was a really big part of this episode, as he's kind of is forced to reckon with his choices, who he is, why he became Chad Powers in the first place. And it takes this goofy premise, it flips it on its head, and it gives it some real gravitas. It makes you realize, yeah, this is a guy who's been such a failure, who has self-sabotaged his life, has made so many awful choices, that he sought out losing himself into this parody caricature of a human, but being gifted a chance to do what made him happiest again, play football, seeing these people actually have some respect and reverence for him, be happy that he's a teammate, whereas Russ was considered a cancer. And that's pointed out by Coach at the end of the last episode. So you factor all of this in, and you're throwing you're adding these shades to a character that desperately needed it, because Russ is so unlikable in a sense, and this really adds some humanity to him, and it makes it easier for the audience to sympathize with him, with his plight and what he's trying to accomplish. It sucks you back into wanting to see him get back to the Catfish, get to that Georgia game, lead them to victory. And then, as again, with the pretensions dropped and things getting real, Russ heads to Athens, where the Georgia Bulldogs play. And he runs into Ricky on the bus looking for his uniform. And what unfolds here is easily, far and away, the best scene of the entire series. By far, I think it was a powerhouse showcase of acting from the both of them. Because there's a lot of give and pull going on in this scene. Russ pleading, first coming in as Chad Powers, hoping maybe she'll just accept this act and we can move on. Her forcing him to drop the Chad Powers talk and come back into who he is. Him giving this kind of poetic apology, professing his love for her, saying, I didn't know it was your mom. I mean, the odds were stacked against you, buddy. You did it to yourself, but he's realized that. Yet at the same time, Ricky, who's taking this all in, I'm wondering, I'm a bit worried. There's no way she's just going to accept this at face value and kiss him. She draws in, let me touch your face. She gives what you would hope happens. She slaps the crap out of him and proceeds to kind of mutilate him, just absolutely atomize him from top to bottom, telling him she thought he should have unalived himself, calling him this iconic loser, piece of shit, how much she hates him. And I think it's well warranted. You totally understand the position she's coming from. Chad pleading, not seeing this and saying, well, let's just win. And she says, no, I don't want you anywhere near this team. I will out you to the world and destroy you if you come anywhere near this team. And then yet again, another wrinkle thrown in to even make this scene more good. Chad countering back, playing his cards. Actually, you aren't going to tell anybody. Your dad pulled the strings to get me enrolled here. The program would get the death penalty. All the wins would be vacated. He would be fired. I'm playing. And I just thought that whole scene from start to finish was masterful. Something I never thought after the first 5 episodes I would be saying about this show, but it was masterful storytelling. And it really sets a high mark for the second season, a mark I hope it finds a little more consistently. I would love for, and I think the humor in this episode was there, and there was some heart there. There's some good interactions. You had the booster visiting coach in the hospital, smoking her. I can smoke anywhere. You had the humor from her, but like, oh, she actually does care for the coach. She's there instead of at the game. He's not just a figurehead for her. She empathizes with him. She wants to see him succeed. You got all of these little touches in this episode that elevated it so far above what's come before it. I would love to see a season 2 now. I would love to see this story continued. I'd love to see, the consequences that will inevitably come. Will it come on the heels of a Catfish chance at a national title? And I think even the name Catfish, now that I think about it, is kind of funny as you deal with what Chad Powers is basically doing to an entire university and the sports program. He's catfishing them all. So it's a clever nod. I don't know why I didn't catch on to that sooner, and it just hit me now. But all in all, this was a remarkable finale considering what's come before it. It showed maturity in the storytelling. It showed emotion, pathos, depth. I think the characters were fleshed out more than they ever have been before. Glenn Powell and Perry Matfield, and a bit of Steve Zahn, but really those two absolutely shined tonight in their performances. And Ricky got the bravado, uh, the loud kind of theatrical performance, a real chance to show her acting chops. But I think the subtlety of Glenn Powell's performance, his reactions, um, the hint in his eyes, realizing who he is, why he's doing what he's doing, it all worked for me really well. I thought this was a fantastic episode, and I'm going to have to give this, I think, a 9.3 out of 10. And I'm holding that against the standard of some of the best shows I've seen all year. This was a great finale for me. It has me eager for a season 2. I hope it's renewed. It has, as of the filming of this review, it has not yet been renewed for a season 2, but I'm hopeful. So with that being said, guys, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the episode. What'd you think? Am I overhyping it? I certainly don't think so. I think that this is objectively, and I guess maybe that's not fair to say when it comes to media, but for me, this is easily the best episode of Chad Powers by 2 or 3 points, by a country mile. I love this episode, and I'm hoping and eager for a season 2 now. So that's all for tonight. This is Jake Margo with Margo Watches Movies. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. And as always, guys, we'll see you next time.